And then he gets to verse 5 here. And he says, my flesh is clothed with worms. And he begins a very, very subtle metaphor here. And when you really think about this, one of the most visceral verses in the Bible is this one right here. It's actually kind of gross when you think about it. My flesh is clothed with worms and the crust of dirt. My skin hardens and runs. So he's describing his real physical condition here. He's looking at himself and he's saying, this is what I look like. This is my condition. And we don't know precisely what condition he has. Some say leprosy. I think elephantitis was another one that I've heard. There's several things that could have happened, or it could be something we haven't heard of in our day. But look at the description of it. And look at the word he uses. My flesh is clothed. Remember that. That's really important. He's opening up a metaphor here. The last thing I'll say on verse 5 here is because I don't want to run too long today. The last thing I'll say here is look at the term here where he says, my skin hardens and runs. I'm going to give you a way to read this that might help you. And you should read it like this. My skin hardens and runs, hardens and runs, hardens and runs, hardens and runs. Do you get that? The hardened part, have you ever had a wound and it starts to heal and it gets hard? But when it's cut open again, it runs. The pus runs out, the blood runs out. He's describing the kind of condition that for a moment, he's like, oh, I think I'm healing. Look at that, I'm healing. And then it's running again. Just when he thought everything was good. And it's a metaphor here for life, is it not? Oh, things are getting better. They're getting better. Oh, the callus is forming. Everything must be kind of coming together. Oh no, it's running again. And my finances are gone. My kids are acting up again. My wife, we're not in the right page anymore. This happened at church. That happened at church. I thought things were good. Hardens and runs. Hardens and runs. It's a cycle. I've talked about the Rota Fortunae here before, called the Wheel of Fortune, not the game show, but the idea of this wheel where you're the king and then you fall and you're the pauper and then you become the worker and you start lifting up again. You become the king again. And it's this wheel of fortune that's called the Rota Fortunae. And the Christians, they saw this imagery and this symbol. And what they did one little change to the wheel of fortune and they put Christ in the middle of it. And they said, it doesn't matter if you're the king or the pauper. It doesn't matter if you're going down or you're going up. If Christ is at the center, you got everything you need. It hardens and it runs. It hardens and it runs. But Christ is in it. See, for the believer, we have Jesus. We have the one who experienced the hardening and the running. He experienced the agony. He experienced the humbleness. He experienced the embarrassment. He experienced the humiliation. He had friends that were next to him. And in a moment when he needed them most, they all ran away. He was there when he looked up to the heavens and he said, may this cup pass from me if it be your will, but it wasn't the will of God. And then he sat there on the cross and he looked up and said, God, Father, why have you forsaken me? He is there today with you and I. You're not alone in your pain. You're not alone in your suffering. Don't get a painful perspective of life that's nihilistic in nature, that says it's worse for me. It's me. It's all about me. And it's so bad for me. When we have Christ, who suffered more than us, who took the sin of the world upon himself and gives us a promise of life.